Hi, I'm Dina Wakley, and I'm excited to show you stamping with the Scribble Sticks. You don't just have to draw with these, you can use all the stamps you already have and make really cool effects. Let's make a little journal page with Scribble Sticks as our only medium, maybe a little black archival for stamping, but you'll be amazed how far you can take your Scribble Sticks with just your rubber stamps. And so let's start with the media journal. So this is the watercolor page here. There's no prep on this page, so there's no gesso here at all. And I want to just make a cool scribble stick background. And one of my favorite ways to use these sticks is to use them as my medium for stamping. And so we're going to do direct to stamp. It's super simple. Open your scribble sticks and pull them right out. Put them on this side so that you can grab them easier, I think, and then choose your stamp. I'm going to use this abstract bloom set. I just love this one with the Scribble Sticks, especially with direct to stamp. It works really well. And I'm not going to mix tons of different imagery. I'm going to choose one stamp. I'm going to do it in the background, and I'm going to do it on the tag for my foreground. And that sort of repetition makes for a strong page. And I'm going to do this one because I just love this little bloom here. Go ahead and put it directly straight on your block, and I want you to hit the block with a couple of sprays of water, and then you're going to start coloring the stamp directly on the block. And how much water you use and how much pigment you put down with the stick, that is all a matter of experimentation, and it's a matter of a learning curve. And I usually spray it 2 or 3 times, and then I start coloring with the stick. And if it starts to dry, I'm going to have to hit it again. I've had people do this and say, oh my gosh, it was too wet, and then their image is mushy. The thing is, by the time your image is dry, mushy's good. You want it to look sort of watercolored, and so having a lot of water in there is not a bad thing. I put magenta and ruby in the bloom, the flower part, and in the stem part I put lime. And because I only have one green scribble stick, it's the lime, I'm going to add the night scribble stick right into that lime, and it actually will turn kind of a hunter green on me because that lime is going to mix with the night. Okay, now if I've talked too long or taken too long to decide my colors, sometimes the water starts to dry and I need to wet it again. So I'm just going to wet it again just for kicks. Turn it right around, give it a nice little impression. Oh, I love that. You want it to be mushy because that's how it's going to look like you painted it instead of stamped it. So don't worry if it ends up a little imperfect. Plus this is our background too, right? So I wouldn't worry a whole lot about it. I'm going to just pull the stamp off because my block was too close to the corner there. Okay, so you get this great little background here. I think I'm going to load that stamp up one more time so that I have one more. I do like my odd numbers. If you've been in class with me, you've heard me say I do love my odd numbers, and I've got 4 on there, and that's going to bug me. So I'm going to add one more. Again, I'm just adding a little bit of that pigment directly from the stick right onto the stamp. That's why we call this direct to stamp, because you're putting your medium directly on the stamp. Let's hit it again. I'm going to put this right on the edge of the block so that I can turn it and maybe stamp close to that border. Oh yes. Okay, I lied. I'm going to do a couple more because I want a whole garden, I guess. Nice. Okay, pretty. Now, while that stick is still wet, I might be able to wet the brush. These are the new paint brushes. They have a wonderful bristle for this sort of thing. The bristles are a tiny bit softer than the long-handled ones. And I might be able to just pull it out a bit, but because this paper that we used here in the journal, this is the watercolor, the cotton, it is very, very absorbent. And if we would have gessoed it, it would have given us a plastic coating that we could maybe move that pigment around on. But because this is an unprimed page, we're not really going to be able to stir it up. I mean, people always say, are the sticks permanent? And my answer is, well, it depends. Are you stamping on the watercolor paper in the journal with no gesso? Then yes. Are you stamping on gesso? Then you're probably going to be able to move them around a little bit. Let's do a little bit of background here. So I'm going to color really lightly with just turquoise kind of near my little garden that I'm creating. Really light color because I just want to dissolve it a bit. And I know, again, because I have not gessoed, that I'm going to see a pencil stroke, a stick stroke. I almost called it a crayon. I always tell people, don't call these a crayon. They're not a crayon. Why? Because there is no wax in this product. Okay, they look like a crayon, which is why sometimes we slip and say that, but really they're, you know, they're a stick of pigment. Because I didn't do too many solid lines, I'm able to get that turquoise dissolved, and I'm able to get kind of a nice little aura happening there in my background. Isn't that pretty? I would totally let that dry and I would write. I think it'd be so nice to either do quotes or journaling kind of in the blooms of the flowers. Wouldn't that be great? I really do love writing on my pages. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm just going to grab a manila tag. And let's see, how many tags do I want? Let's look at the page. I think one is fine. I think if you have a larger journal, if you have the dilutions, you know, you might be able to fit more than one. If I do more than one, I'm going to cover up that gorgeous garden that I just created. So I think one tag will be fine for me. And I'm going to stamp that image, the one that we just did. I'm just going to dry it off on my apron because that's how I roll. And I'm going to stamp it with black archival. If you would like to load your image the exact same way with Scribble Stick as you did, you know, for your background, if you want to do your tag the exact same way, that is not a problem. And in fact, it would be really pretty, I think. But I'm just going to do it in black archival because I want to color the image with the sticks and have it kind of have a nice repetition with that background. So the background's kind of blurry. This image will be nice and crisp because instead of using the water and the Scribble Stick, I'm just going to use my favorite archival. I'm going to stamp it a couple of times without reloading so that I have a few lighter images here as kind of supporting characters, but the main star is going to be that middle image, correct? And then let's go ahead and color. I love to repeat colors too. People always say, you know, how do you know what colors to use? Well, whatever you begin with, keep using those. So I started with magenta and I started with ruby, and so I'm going to keep using those exact colors because that creates, again, unity and repetition through your piece, and that is a good thing. If you ever make your art and it feels like it's getting away from you, you may have done too many colors, you may have done too many images. And I think people are afraid to repeat sometimes, thinking repeating is cheating. But repeating is not cheating, repeating is good. Makes for a strong piece. So I put a little pigment down there, not on the whole bloom, but just on a little area, and then I went ahead and just dissolved it with water. You could use a water brush if you like. If I would like there to be a little more depth of color, I can come back in with that stick and color right in the puddle. So right into that wet puddle, I can keep laying pigment down. If I wanted to even add a brightness, I could put a little lemon. That lemon's going to add a little bit of brightness in there. Okay, now this tag is also unprimed, so just like if you're watercoloring or painting a tag, remember that if you stir it up too much with water, you're going to start stirring up the paper pulp in the tag, and that's true with Scribble Sticks as well. So it's not like I have, you know, lots of wet capabilities on just a manila tag. I mean, it's not like nice watercolor paper or something like that. If you're using a true watercolor paper, you might be able to soak it a little bit more. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that stem has that nice green aura. That was lime, and then this is just going to be a little bit of night. It's interesting how that night and that lime combine to make another green. I use that combination quite a bit if you want two tones of green. Okay, now just like we did a little aura in the background of our garden on the page, let's do the same little aura. I'm going to come around, and with the turquoise stick, I'm just going to lay some pigment down around the bloom. So carefully, as you can tell. That's me being sarcastic. I'm just not careful about anything. My favorite 3 words, as you guys know, are oops, oh well. If it turns out goofy, oh well, they'll make more paper. The great thing about products like Scribble Sticks, though, is it's just success is easy to obtain because they're really, truly not difficult to use. And I always say I like easy art. My mother is a quilter. She can do amazing things, and gosh, it's hard work quilting. So any sorts of crafts that are technical and require a lot of work. It's not my gig. I'll buy it from you, but I won't do it. I love easy art, and I really do think this is easy. You might have to practice a little to get the proportion right and practice your skills, but hey, practicing's fun, and practicing is way better than doing your laundry. So I'm going to grab the archival ink pad, and I'm going to go ahead and give this tag a little bit of a black edge. That's Dina style inking. Just pick it up and drag it on there. Love to grunge it up that way. Looks really nice. And then I'm going to grab my journal back, and you can see how the tag looks with that garden in the background. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, that is your page done. What's missing is journaling, or a quote, or song lyrics, or whatever else you'd like to add to it. But that is absolutely a stunning way to get a pretty effect using just Scribble Sticks, water, a little bit of archival, and one rubber stamp. You don't have to use everything you own. So I hope you enjoyed this idea, and I hope you stamp with your Scribble Sticks.